On July 15, 1410, armies of Polish-Lithuanian alliance and Teutonic Order alongside with dozen nations supporting them clashed on the field near Grunwald. This battle shaped the fate of Northern and Eastern Europe and people of these regions for the next few centuries. Welcome to the second edition of the Kings and Generals. Today we will look at the Great War of 1409-1411 between Teutonic Order and Polish-Lithuanian alliance. Small disclaimer to kick off this video. In this video and future documentaries we will use English toponymy, as that will be less distracting for our viewers. For instance, the Battle of Grunwald is known as the Battle of Tannenberg in Germany and Battle of Zalgiris in the Baltics, but Grunwald is historically accepted naming, so we will go with it, and we will continue doing that in our upcoming videos. The great migration of the peoples that took place between 4th and 8th century changed the map of Europe, and its effects are still persistent, as the ethnic distribution of population within Europe is still very similar. As Germanic tribes moved to Western, Southern and Central Europe, eastern part of the continent was settled by the Slavic tribes. Slavs started forming their states in the 9th and 10th century, and one of these states was Poland, which became a kingdom under Boleslav I the Brave of Piast dynasty in 1025. Boleslav was baptized himself, and his kingdom was recognized by Pope and the Holy Roman Empire. Slowly Poles adopted Christianity. Baltic tribes living to the north and northeast of the Polish kingdom were not baptized, and that was creating tension along the borders. These lands were populated by the last pagan people of Europe, and that made Baltics a good conquest target for the Catholic Church and the Holy Roman Empire. Non-believers were outlawed by the Church, and Pope Innocent III was eager to increase his influence, and in 1204 Pope sanctioned the foundation of the Livonian Brothers of the Sword Order in Riga, modern-day Latvia. The order was comprised of warrior monks of German origin, and its goal was to conquer and baptize pagans of the Baltics. In the year 1226, Polish Duke of Masovia Konrad invited Teutonic Order to protect his northeast borders against the pagans. Teutonic Order was founded in Jerusalem as a Hospice Brotherhood in 1143 to accommodate German-speaking crusaders and pilgrims. In 1198 it was transformed into a military order in Acre and were based on the model of the Knights Templar. However, crusades into Near East were on the decline, and when Duke of Masovia asked for Order's assistance, they answered his call and got Helminoland as a fief. The Holy Roman Emperor decreed that Helminoland and whole Prussia are to be conquered by the Order. This decree didn't name any other Baltic lands. However, both Teutonic and Livonian orders considered conquering these lands and baptizing its population a sacred duty. So while the former operated in Prussia, the latter fought wars against burgeoning Grand Duchy of Lithuania. In 1236, Lithuanian dukes defeated Livonian Order in the Battle of Saule. Livonian Order was so decimated it had no other choice but to join the Teutonic Order and became its vassal. The order continued its incursion into Prussia, and by the year 1274 finalized the conquest of the land. However, Further movement into Baltics was blocked off by the strengthening Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Most of Lithuania adopted Christianity by the end of the 14th century, and that gradual Christianization made Order's mission problematic, as they were left without their stated mission of baptizing the population of these lands. This diminished Order's moral standing with the European kings and negatively influenced its relationship with Poland, as Teutons now looked more as conquerors rather than missionaries, and strained relationship resulted in 2 wars between the Order and the Polish kingdom. The War of 1308–1309 ended with the Teutonic takeover of the city Danzig. Poland also lost the Second War in the years 1326–1332, and it was concluded by the Treaty of Kalisz, signed in 1343. This treaty forced Polish kings to renounce their claims on Pomerania and Chełmno, which meant that Poland didn't have an access to the Baltic Sea anymore. This was a difficult period for the Polish kingdom. Despite the nominal rule of the Piast dynasty, the central government was weak and dukes were very independent in their decisions. The last male representative of this dynasty died in the year 1370, and the kingdom was briefly ruled by the related Angevin dynasty. In 1384, 11-year-old Jadwiga of the Piast dynasty became the queen. Polish aristocracy was eager to strengthen the country through the alliance with the Great Duchy of Lithuania, and they achieved that in 1385 through the union of Krevo, when Grand Duke of Lithuania Jogaila of Gedimin dynasty married Jadwiga. Jogaila adopted Christianity and was crowned as the King of Poland in the next year, and he became the founder of the Jagiellonian dynasty that ruled for the next 2 centuries. Jogaila's brother Skirgaila was designated as a regent of the Grand Duchy, but he was unpopular with the people, and Jogaila's cousin Vytautas tried to use this opportunity to become the Grand Duke, which resulted in the Lithuanian Civil War of 1389–1392. Vytautas entered an alliance with the Teutons and ceded the region of Samogysha to the Order in 1390. In 1392, Jogaila finally agreed to name Vytautas the regent of Grand Duchy. Aforementioned Samogysha was very important for a number of reasons. Controlling Samogysha meant that for the first time Teutonic Order will have a land corridor between its holdings in Prussia and Livonia, and that was crucial for it. On the other hand, Samogysha was the last remaining pagan land in Europe, and baptizing its people would give Order an important edge in their diplomatic affairs with the Catholic kings and the Pope himself. Although Vytautas gave this region to the Order in 1390 and then renewed the treaty in 1398 and 1404, Samogysians were not eager to become Christians, and they rebelled twice in 1404 and in 1409. This second rebellion became the reason for the Great War. It's important to understand the diplomatic situation in Europe during that period. Mongolian invasions ended and their influence over the situation was non-existent, with Timurid's incursion into the Middle East being the last phase. Crusades were also on a decline because popes began to lose their prestige, as local rulers were able to take away some of their power due to the infighting within the church. Kingdoms with strong central governments appeared all over the continent. During that period, Catholic religious authorities began to accept Poland and Lithuania as a part of Brethren, and that created a problem for the Teutonic Order, as their continuing incursion into Baltics wasn't considered a holy war anymore. The Order's model of governing wasn't really sustainable because despite baptizing the local population, it didn't assimilate it, and therefore Teutonic army generally depended on the knights from the Western and Central Europe, mainly from the Germanic lands. The Holy Roman Empire, Kingdom of Bohemia, and Kingdom of Hungary had close ties with the Teutonic Order, but they had no intention of fighting against Poland and the Grand Duchy, as they had their own complications and Order conquest had no religious cloud surrounding it anymore. And as this support was dropping off, Order found itself basically surrounded by Polish-Lithuanian alliance that was much more populous and rich in terms of resources. In 1407, Ulrich von Jungingen became the Grand Master of the Teutonic Order, and his aggressive and militaristic character made the war inevitable. The uprising in Samogitia started in May 1409, and the Grand Duchy supported it politically right away. Order threatened to retaliate against Lithuania, and that forced Poland to issue their own ultimatum, stating that their forces will move into Prussia if Lithuania is invaded. That was a precarious situation. On one hand, Polish-Lithuanian alliance had more troops. On the other hand, both Jogaila and Vytautas knew that if they start an offensive war, Order will receive support from the Holy Roman Empire and Hungary. So they decided that they will allow Teutonic Knights to make the first move, to be able to portray themselves as the victims of an invasion. It worked out perfectly for the Allies, as hot-headed Ulrich von Jungingen declared war on Poland and Lithuania on August 6, 1409. Grandmaster's plan was to beat Poland fast and then to turn his army against Lithuania, so the Knights moved into Greater Poland and Kuyavia, which was a surprise for Poles who were not prepared to fight. Order's troops burned Castle of Dobrin and captured Bobrovniki and Bydgoszcz. The Polish army was able to retaliate and take the latter back, while Samogitians attacked Memel. However, both sides were not prepared for a war, and when the King of Bohemia, Wenceslaus, asked belligerents to negotiate, they obliged. A truce was signed in October and was set to expire on June 24, 1410. The Order and the Allies used that opportunity to prepare their forces and to conduct diplomacy. Order bribed Wenceslaus, who was a mediator of this negotiation, to declare Samogitia Order's land. They also paid King Sigismund of Hungary to attack Poland. However, this attack never occurred. During the truce period, Vytautas was able to obtain neutrality guarantees from the Livonian Order. In December of 1409, Jogaila and Vytautas reconvened in Brest to discuss their plans and agreed that they will gather all their troops in northern Poland and will move with haste to Marienburg, the capital of the Order, as soon as the truce will end. Von Jungingen concentrated his forces in Schwedt, and allies knew about that, so to distract the Knights they organized raids along the border with Prussia. Polish and Lithuanian forces crossed the border on the 9th of July 1410, but their attempt to keep secrecy failed, and Grandmaster moved his forces to intercept along the Dravens River. Armies saw each other on the opposing sides of the river on the 10th of July, but Jogaila decided that it's not a good idea to cross the river in the view of the Order's forces, and Allied forces started to move to the east to be able to attack Marienburg without crossing any rivers. Von Jungingen forces mirrored their movement, crossed the Dravens River near Lobau, and moved to the east parallel to the Polish-Lithuanian troops. Two armies met on the 15th of July between the villages of Grunwald and Tannenberg. As with most pre-modern era battles, the numbers of combatants remain a hot topic of debate, but even Polish historians agree that Allied forces outnumbered Teutonic Order, at least 4-3. The commonly accepted number is 39,000 for the Polish-Lithuanian army and 27,000 for Teutons. While Order's army mostly consisted of warriors of the Germanic origin, Allied forces were truly international. Russian vassals from Smolensk and other princedoms, along with the Ruthenians, Moldovans, Czechs, led by the future commander of the Hasset forces, Jan Žižka, were part of the Lithuanian army. They were also joined by at least 3,000 Tatarov's Golden Horde. Heavy cavalry accounted for more than half of the Order's army, and although they were outnumbered by the Allied forces, they had a clear advantage in training, equipment, and discipline. The Order also had at least 5,000 in the infantry and some number of artillery bombards. Polish troops mirrored Teutonic with a focus on the heavy cavalry and with added infantry and artillery, while Lithuanian army had a lighter equipment and its cavalry, especially Tatars horsemen, was lightly armed. Von Jungingen's plan was to attack the Allies on the slope of the valley, where his troops would be able to diminish the advantage of enemy's numerical superiority. Jogaila anticipated Grand Master's plan and decided to delay the battle and stay within the limit of the forest. Legend claims that von Jungingen was angered by this and sent emissaries with 2 swords to the king to shame him for the said delay. The legend also has Grand Master's letter to the king, in which the former mocks the Polish king and says that he is ready to move his forces back to give the Allies more space to form up. There is no historical evidence that Order's troops actually moved back, but regardless, the battle started at noon and continued for at least 6 or 7 hours. Light rain prevented both armies from using their artillery, and the battle was mainly a cavalry affair. The battle started with Lithuanian forces attacking from their right flank, and Tatar light cavalry was able to overpower infantry and missile units of the Order. However, when Order's heavy cavalry on the left flank counterattacked, most of the Lithuanian forces retreated hastily. To this day, debates are ongoing if this retreat was planned or not. Some historians claim that Lithuanian forces were not able to withstand the charge of the Order's knight and run away. Others think that this retreat was tactical and Vytautas actually used all Mongolian and Tatar tactic of tactical retreat. In any case, most of the allied right flank retreated, with only troops from Smolensk joining the Polish forces. Jogaila's army had a better time, as it was able to stop the advance of the right flank of the Order and make it retreat to the west. When Order's left flank unit stopped chasing Lithuanian forces and returned, they found the right flank of their army in retreat and half encircled. Sources portray heroism of the Smolensk banners that despite heavy losses fought off most of the left flank of the Teutonic forces until Lithuanian army returned to the battlefield. Grandmaster tried to change the fate of the battle by retreating with his center in order to lure allied forces in and go for a double envelopment with his flanks, but Jogaila was able to undermine this maneuver by placing blockade and forcing to prevent outflanking. On the contrary, his flanks were able to use the numerical advantage and surrounded most of the Order's remaining units. Grandmaster and most of the Order commanders died fighting in this encirclement. A small group of knights was able to break through and try to defend the camp, but they were soon overrun. Order lost more than 20,000 troops in this battle, with most of its elite dead. The Polish-Lithuanian army didn't wait and moved towards the Order's capital, Marienburg, and reached it by the 22nd of July, but the city was defended by the remainder of the Teutonic forces. Defenders sent out police to help to Hungary, Bohemia, and the Holy Roman Empire, and they got some help when Livonian Order threatened to attack Lithuanian lands, and that forces Allied army to retreat from Marienburg 7 weeks after the siege began. Jogaila was able to achieve another victory on October 10 near Koronovo. There was a clear possibility that Hungarian king will attack Poland very soon, and allies decided not to fight on 2 fronts, so peace negotiations began and the treaty was signed on the 1st of February 1411 in Thorn. Despite a massive victory in Grunwald, Polish-Lithuanian alliance wasn't able to capitalize and gain big territorial or diplomatic advantages. Order rescinded their claim to Samogosha for the lifetime of Jogaila and Vytautas, and after their death, this region was to return to the Order. Allies promised to convert Samogosha to Christianity. Sides agreed that all future disputes would be resolved by the international mediators. Borders were open to the trade. The Order had to pay 20,000 of silver kilograms in reparations, which was a heavy burden and put in a debt. The Great War between the Teutonic Order and Polish-Lithuanian alliance ended with the victory of the latter. Although the order wasn't abolished and Polish-Lithuanian Union had to fight 6 more wars against it, the Great War changed the fate of the regions for the next few centuries and is rightly considered as a pivotal moment of the history. Thank you for watching. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Kings and Generals. Please consider leaving feedback. Tell us what you like and dislike about this episode. What would you like to see next? Don't forget that sharing is caring. This is Nurix and Phoenix channel, and we will catch you on the next one.